everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 12th and final High School Musical, the series, Season 2 episode review. We're here. This is the final episode of Season 2. This definitely felt kind of very anticlimactic. I'm sorry to say, I think they a little bit screwed the pooch on this one. I liked the finale, but at the same time, I felt very underwhelmed by it. This hit some of the right notes and some of the wrong notes, and it leaves it with a bit of I can't speak. It leaves everything ambiguous about what's going to happen next, because they were trying to be very flexible, because we live in an era of TV shows where, like, you really don't know if a show's going to get renewed. You can say this definitely felt like a finale, like if this was, like, let's say, for example, hypothetically, if this was going to be the very last episode of Season 2, or, like, for the whole show, I think this would be an okay note to end it off of. But I definitely do believe there was meant to be a lot more room for more stories to tell in this universe. I don't know why this felt like it felt it could have just been COVID, or could just be something else. I really don't know. I definitely did not like certain aspects of this episode, and I definitely believe this is probably my least favorite episode of Season 2 ever. Overall, the show, I don't believe that's the case. I have to rewatch Season 1 again, which I haven't. So anyway, let's go for the butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of High School Musical, the series, which also is the shortest episode of Season 2, because it's literally only 22 minutes of actual new footage. The rest of the 29-minute air slot is literally just a look behind the scenes of how they made the show even during COVID, which, don't get me wrong, that's awesome that we get to see that they worked hard even during these, like, very difficult times. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, they definitely did not want to write much material. Or, I mean, people could say, like, oh, well, it's 22 minutes. Like, that's the average length of a half-hour show. Like, I get that, but it's Disney Plus. Like, you're meant to have flexibility. Like, the early episodes this season was definitely over 35 minutes per episode. This felt, like, very short. Like, I knew this was going to be short because, like, there was just not much material here. Let's just go for the butcher recap. So we begin with supposedly the cliffhanger of, like, how are they going to solve this? How are they going to figure this out? And it's a cheap cop-out, in my opinion. They literally start up the episode with the end of the play. Everyone's happy, everyone's applauding, and the main dude's just, like, smiling, and the judge for the Mankeys. And I'm just thinking to myself, are you serious? Like, we didn't even get the titular dance scene from the play or from the movie. Are you serious? We didn't even get that. Like, don't get me wrong, they sprinkled so much of the play throughout the season, between the rehearsals and between everything else, that I'm not surprised we didn't get the full musical at the end of the day. But, like, we didn't even get the final, like, the biggest dance, the most iconic scene from the movies and from of course, the musical. Like, we didn't even get that. That's kind of a cop-out, in my opinion. Like, if you needed an extra 9 minutes, this definitely could have fit in 4 of those minutes. That definitely could have been. I'm being serious there. Like, that's honestly a valid criticism, that they just fast forward so they could just move on to the character stuff. Which, don't get me wrong, sorry about that. I loved about that this season. I really did. But at the same time, I'm like, really? Like, you had to sacrifice the most titular part of the whole season, which is the play, and you don't even acknowledge the most iconic part of the play? Like, that doesn't make sense, in my opinion. I mean, okay, I know, like, High School, when they did Season 1 with High School Musical, they didn't adapt the whole movie. I get that. They had 2 episodes, but they made that work. It worked out in the end. But at the same time, for here, it's like, they didn't even do that? I'm sorry, but I'm just literally, I was flabbergasted when I thought literally they were still, like, doing the whole drawn out orchestra thing, and, we were still figuring out how they're going to figure this out. And then even when we get to the backstage and they talk about how did they fix the problem with Ricky's harness? They figured it out somehow. It was passable, but I'm just thinking to myself, wait a minute, so So y'all didn't really. Okay, whatever. So we passed that over, and it's more fanfare and applause for Ashley, who rocked it as Bella, which I will applaud. She did a great job in the limited scenes we got last episode. But everyone's kind of just pushing her towards outside because she's still looking for Big Red, who we presume is still throwing up in the bathroom somewhere. I mean, come on. But she goes outside. Turns out Big Red had this big romantic gesture to present to her, which is her name and lights. Which I will admit that was very sweet and very like, yeah, these two are like really cute together, and this season definitely proved that much more than ever. Everyone's happy. Everyone's thrilled for that. I believe the next thing we get was Courtney leaving, and she sees Howie, and the way how I like this was fine because they mostly what shows I will trust the writers and how they're gonna explore things. I thought last episode that Howie's attitude towards Courtney was because he was really feeling bad that he once again assisted in her team's demise from the Menkeys. This time around, he just said oh no, I felt so kind of. I was judging myself because I looked at dudes like, you are a much better performer than me. And Courtney felt very sweetened by it, but also at the very much time feeling a little bit dickish. Like, oh, you think I'm better than you? And that was a really nice dynamic. Even Courtney's mom was in the distance, kind of happy that Courtney finally found someone that could, take her sass. And it was nice. It was. I'll give this episode a pass on that. They definitely redeemed Courtney and Howie at the end of the story. I think the next part was immediately in this same hallway scene. EJ's about to head off, and he's feeling a bit awkward since he doesn't know how to handle Gina just quite yet. But he runs into Teacher Benjamin, who the call that he got during the show was from I think Caltech, offering him the head of their robotics team or robotics division in their campus in Cali, which has been one of his biggest dreams to go to. And of course, EJ managed to give him the hookup since. Honestly, Benjamin deserves it because he helped out EJ a lot this season, and he should be rewarded for it and all of his patience, all his hard work. But he's not quite sold on moving just quite yet, since he has still the matter of his feelings for Miss Jen to tackle on. So he doesn't give EJ a direct answer if he's going to go or not. Gina shows up in her nice, cute date dress, assumingly ready to go out with EJ. But EJ's still kind of bothered by the fact that supposedly for Gina's brother's voice message that Gina only thinks of it as a big brother figure, not really much of a romantic figure. So he decides to call off the risotto date and just stick with the two of them going to Slices for the after party, which Gina's hiding her feelings. I mean, at first she feels very saddened because once again, if you remember a few episodes ago, she was very much unsure whether or not her feelings for EJ were going to be reciprocated, and she thinks it is, and it is reciprocated, but her own brother literally screwed her over out of that one, so she decides to head back to supposedly change up or makeup up while EJ heads off to Slices. I believe we get to. I know there's a scene where Miss Jen is looking over the crowd and she's really just dead set on the Menkeys. She just doesn't even want to hang out with the guys afterwards. She just wants to review the play footage and meet with the judge and then kind of go from there on what they're going to do next. Since supposedly the Menkeys is not just. This is basically an auditions round for the Menkeys. There's going to be an even bigger competition down the line. And this is only just getting them the nominations. This isn't the final victory per se. So I was like, oh, so there's more Menkeys, hopefully next season. That's what I'm thinking. But Ms. Jen's not her same self right now. She's feeling a little bit different. So Carlos and Steph decide to leave her alone while they head off back to Slices. Nene and Ricky have their first real conversation post breakup. Honestly, this is probably the most healthiest way that they could do things because. The two of them right now have acknowledged that right now in their lives, they're not ready to date each other. I don't even think they're ready to date anyone, period. Well, at least I'm assuming Nene for now. They both have things to figure out. Nene wants to really focus dead set this time on her songwriting career and where does that lead her? And Ricky wants to figure out who is he now? He's going to have a little bit of a speech later on with Miss Jen about it, but who is he now after this whole year of music goals and, self-discovery and type thing? Well, where does that leave him next? And that's going to be very curious to see him continue on in this journey, hopefully. And even in their notes for each other, it does simulate that these two at the current margin don't really have that much romantic feelings for each other. Like, I'm pretty sure they still love each other, but they're not ready to acknowledge each other as a romantic significant other again just quite yet. And even the phrase second chances, like, they're going to give this entire connection another go. This time, hopefully, platonic, no jealousy. This is just like, they're going to be friends. And where does that lead them in the end? We don't know just quite yet. We're going to have to find out as this journey hopefully continues. So they leave off there. I believe we get two diversions, I believe, where I think I went out of order, where Gina's crying in the dressing room, obviously saddened that EJ canceled their date. Nene heads in there to kind of, catch in on her. And they don't immediately talk about the whole EJ thing. They just talk about everything else. And acknowledging how far they come on their journey and how, they're completely different people when they walk through the doors of East High. Well, not East High at the start of season 1 to now at the end of season 2, where they are now. And they're acknowledging each other. And Gina obviously gives Nene so much credit because, like, at first, Nene and her were rivals, and then after Nene decided to return back everything that Gina had in the world, she changed her mind. It's like, no, Nene's a good person. I was viewing her wrong. To now where it's like they have this trust between them, this friendship between them. It was really sweet and awesome to go see that, and as a reward, well, not really reward, like Gina realizing that, hey, I got this music producer brother. You're an amazing songwriter. You deserve to get a boost. Let me get you in touch with him. And Nene's like giving that. It was like a very long camera pan where she's like, Kira's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Ricky and Miss Jen have a conversation about, just everything. And I believe this is what helps Miss Jen kind of like snap herself out of things, where Ricky decides to give her blessing to date his dad again. That he has to stop letting people stop someone else from doing what they're doing. Like, his dad and Miss Jen do want to date. They have a genuine connection with each other. And it shouldn't be stopped just because Ricky is, like, feeling very bad about it. Which I'll give Ricky credit for. Like, he's slowly getting to that stage where, like, he's ready to see his dad move on his life and to move on to potentially someone else. And it was nice and sweet to see. It really was. But then we get like the last final original song of the season, where it's a culmination of the two seasons we had so far, where it's Ricky, Nene, EJ, and Gina kind of acknowledging where they are in the moment and how much the journey so far has taught them. And they're in their episode 1 outfits, like they're in the auditions episode of season 1, like they're in those outfits again, symbolizing they've come so far since that journey, and while their journeys aren't quite done just quite yet, they still acknowledging that they've done a lot and they're ready to see what is next for them after everything they've been through out of this one school year at not East High. And I believe, so from then on, I believe we just head to Slices where everyone's celebrating. Everyone's celebrating there, and they're just talking about things. Lily and the French douche, as I'll call it because I forgot his name, they show up, seemingly trying to make amends with the Wildcats, despite everything they were thrown at them this year. They still pulled off a pretty good performance. The Wildcats, they don't buy this shit. They're basically telling them, get the hell out of here. It's a private event. Get out. Of course, obviously, Ricky kind of shepherds them out of the way, but of course, Lily tries to once again flirt with Ricky, which I'm like, after last episode, I'm like, this is complete bullshit. What is she planning? I don't know. I feel so sorry for Ricky since he's in a very vulnerable place right now, so I'm like, please don't hurt Ricky. Please don't. This fucking sucks. Lily, stop. Everyone's off celebrating, and they're kind of acknowledging how the play was, and honestly, after the exhaustion that they had this semester, they don't really care about the Menkeys anymore. They've all accomplished something new in their personal lives and their now musical lives that they don't really need the acknowledgement from the Menkeys to prove that they, did a great job. They know they did a great job. They somehow pulled through and through once again, and they made another successful play, and, they're happy about it. They don't really need the Menkeys to acknowledge them. Everyone's in agreement about it, and conveniently Miss Jen and Benjamin show up in the nick of time with the Menkeys announcement, whether or not what they got nominated for at the end, and they all tell her, "Look, please don't read the letter. We don't want to be in the Menkeys anymore. We've already won. We won each other. We won the school. We won everyone. So we don't need the acknowledgement." And Miss Jen's like, "Oh, thank God." I was really debating on reading these results because, like, are we really gonna have to do this entire Menkeys thing over again this summer? And thankfully they're not. Courtney decides to go burn it in the pizza oven for some reason. And Benjamin comes clean about his feelings for Miss Jen right then and there after Miss Jen brings up the fact of his job offer. But before Miss Jen can answer, we don't get anything. She's just flabbergasted since not even 2 hours ago she got permission from Ricky to like go date my dad. And then now she's got this bombshell. Like she's got two valid options here. So where does that lead her? Another cliffhanger. Gina just reminds Nini to give her brother a call and to, get that squared away. Gina decides to push the call, and ironically, he has reception on the plane, so that goes through. So who knows what that'll become next. Gina and Ashley have a talk about just EJ, and apparently right away, like I'm very surprised that Gina and this is resolved fairly quickly. Like, there is no waiting. It's just literally like, hey, EJ told me this. Gina's like, wait a minute. This was a mistake. She immediately goes, also I forgot to mention, Ricky is calling Lily already about like, hey, how you doing? It's like, oh my God. Gina goes outside. Ironically, like EJ didn't even walk that far. He literally just walked like a block. And Gina stops him and is like, she's like, you got the wrong intel. And he's just like, what do you mean by that? And he's like looking down, it's like, I'm gonna get a rejection, am I? And she's just like, can you please be my first kiss? And I'm just thinking to myself, that is the biggest fuck you, because like I went for something in my personal life recently that was kind of like a big F you to that. So I'm like, I won't say much there, maybe for the podcast. And they run to each other in a romantic race, and we literally get cut to black. We don't get anything. We don't get the kiss. We don't get anything. We just see that theater girl who always starts off the season and ends the season like, things are about to heat up next season. And then the French guy's like, right. And like, oh my God, that was so fucking corny. And like, I get why they didn't do the kiss because of COVID. I'm pretty sure they couldn't do any kisses because of COVID. I know every other show is like, you can kiss, but yeah, you have to do all this like chemical washing, medical stuff. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, it would have been better just to like, not do a kiss scene. So that was just, in my opinion, like that was hilarious. And that ends season 2 of High School Musical, the series. Yeah, I have to talk about this. I gave it a little bit too harsh. I still don't think it was the best finale. I still don't think so. I think season 1 had a better finale through and through. I just didn't like. I'll give this a mixed rating. Like, I liked a lot of aspects of it. I liked. Am I frozen again? I am not frozen again. Thank God. I got frozen. I thought I got frozen there for a second. Moving on. Yeah. So I was not a big fan of like just the way they threw out the Menkeys. Like the whole thing about season 2 was about the Menkeys, and I get like at the end of the day the journey that they went through was more important. But like, come on, you literally went through all that, the whole reasoning behind it, just to throw it away. I'm pretty sure season 3 is going to start off by saying like you got nominated for like best play, and they're going to immediately get thrown into the Menkeys again. I respect that Ricky and Nini are going to different paths right now, and they're ready to like fully do separate storylines that don't affect each other. Of course, obviously, there's that big rumor that Olivia Rodrigo, who plays Nini, might leave the show because her popularity is like I'm not gonna lie to you, her popularity blew up in the last 2 months because of the show and all of her singles, which I'll be honest, I haven't heard a single one of her singles. No offense, I'm sorry, I'm just not a big pop culture musical guy. Surprisingly, I'm not, but she's blowing up. It's gonna be another Ariana Grande situation. Like, I think eventually her fame might become too big for the show to even like afford her time. Now, of course, I read things that she's already signed up for a potential 4th season, so contractually wise, she could technically still do the show and balance out her music career. But at the same time, I don't know really. I mean, they definitely gave her an out. Her potential new storyline for season 3 could just eventually be like a written off, like, oh, she got sent off to California and now she's going to be there for the whole summer. That could just be an easy excuse, just like to get her away from the Wildcats. At the same time, is that the case? I don't know, because right now we don't have a season 3 renewal. at the time of this recording, there is no season 3 renewal. The finale just came out tonight. Oh, today. We don't know anything right now. Hopefully, we'll have something in the next 2 weeks. But yeah, I was surprised of how many storylines quickly got resolved, and then some storylines are gonna we're really gonna stretch that out into season 3. It was all over the place. I would have liked a little bit more of like a me in the middle type ordeal, but we didn't get that, which I do understand. I still think it was blasphemy. They cut out most of the final act of Beauty and the Beast just to rush the finale. I was not a big fan of that. They really should have at least done the dance number or something. I would have preferred that. Honestly, season 3 is going to be very interesting as it's going to be a summer season from what they're going to set it up to be. Will they do HSM 2 by that point? Who knows? Will it be the Yankees? I don't know. I don't think they care anymore. And the Wildcats are going to be in a very interesting place since school's out for the summer. We better get, I'll say that all that for season 3 predictions. But for me overall, at the end of the day, this season finale was okay. It was not the best. It had a lot of stupid moments, but I think they did an okay job wrapping up this season, setting up stuff for the next. And hopefully there will be a season 3 to review and see if everything they sacrificed somewhat in this finale was worth it. So for me, I'm going to give this episode 1 thumbs up. I still thought it was okay, but let me know in the comments below. What did you think of this finale of High School Musical, the musical, the series? Let me know. I'm always down the conversation down below. And yeah, so that's it. That was the last episode review for High School Musical, the series for the 2nd season. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from Action, reviewing all the episodes of HSM, TM, TS Season 2 over here on ActionX. If you want to know what we're doing overall, What's the Two besides our High School Musical reviews, we're doing Walker episode reviews each and every Friday mornings after a brand new episode on Thursday nights on the CW, or free the next day on the CW app. Currently, Walker it's on its final hiatus before the big season finale in a couple weeks. So we're still a little bit of ways from there. We're still a little bit of ways, but right now we're currently, this week we took off quick impressions and first impressions since we did a double stack last week, so that kind of makes up for this week. Next week we're still off. We're going to be doing an Attack on Titan quick impressions, so stay tuned for that. However, if you don't care about High School Musical, you're in luck. We'll be back for at least a couple weeks. We're doing a season 2 review, non-spoilers next week, so for anyone who has not yet seen anything from season 2 of High School Musical, the series, they can check that out. It's we will only be talking about episode 1 around there. Everything else will kind of be untouched. So check that out if you want to hear a non-spoiler take on the whole season. And then for the next week, we're going to be doing a season 3 predictions where hopefully by then we do get the renewal. But until then, that will be up for debate. But we're still doing season 3 predictions afterwards. And then that's it for High School Musical coverage for the week. And then we have a ton of new shows to get into for reviewment in the next couple of weeks. We have a slate of the channel coming out this Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. We'll talk about everything about that, including a pretty big shakeup for the channel, so stay tuned for that. But until then, again, this has been What's the Two from ActionX. I lost the moniker for a second. Please subscribe to ActionX on youtube.com/ActionXvideo. Like, favorite, share this review if you want to, but it helps us get us out there to other members of the Wildcat family who has yet to discover us, helps us beat up that YouTube background that hates me ever so much, as well as sharing is always for free here on the internet. Ring that bell for notification when our next HSM review is live, which is normally each and every Saturday mornings. And yeah, follow us on social media, including our brand new Instagram page. So for all you members of the Wildcats, I will see you hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But however, if this is the end of our journey, I thank you so much for joining me on these 12 weeks of reviewing High School Musical. Thank you so much. I love you all. If you don't join me in the next 2 weeks, I'll see you all hopefully in the season 3 episode reviews, maybe in 2022. Who knows where I'll be by then, but most likely I will be back reviewing another season. But until then, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.